I'm passionate about what we built, but I know there's a lot of people who wouldn't care about what we do. There's like a handful of people who have really, really felt the pain that I have felt, who would know why it's so important to work with a company like ours, but it's not everybody. So you just have to really, and I think, at a human level, I think it just comes down to empathy. Like, can you put yourself in their shoes and are you really solving a problem that's relevant to them? And are you taking the time to listen to them and listen to the actual challenges that they have and what's important to them?
Oh yes, this is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. Today's show is sponsored by Ringmaster, on a mission to launch B2B podcasts that create relationships, generate revenue, and drive growth. Ringmasterlive.com. Bam. All right. Oh, I hope you're ready. This is going to be a spicy episode. We are going to crush some myths today, and I can't wait to unleash my guest on this. Well, who is he, Casey? Marketing leader, thought leader, entrepreneur, business growth expert, revenue strategist, you name it. He's done it all. Multiple time VP of RevOps for small companies, startups, scale-ups, Fortune 1000 companies. Again, experience across the board. He led RevOps for Emailage, and they went all the way through a $500 million exit. Damn, we're going to just crack open his brain and eat it like Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom. No, not really, but you know what? It's going to feel like that. Started the #1 YouTube channel for RevOps. Who is he? Founder and CEO of Lean Scale, Anthony Enrico. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks so much, Casey. Appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Dude, you're busy. I can't believe we got you here just for a moment. So in order to crack that brain open, I'm going to pass you this thing. It's heavy, but I can tell you work out. Here you go. Ugh. All right, go ahead. Grab Thor's hammer. You got it?
Got it. Let's go.
There you go. Okay. Double-handed, ready to wheel and smash. Anthony, take Thor's hammer and smash for me some kind of marketing myth, bogus strategy, misconception. Set the record straight once and for all.
This is a big one. I think most companies should be firing their head or VP of demand gen.
Boom. Damn, shots fired. I told you all. I told you he was going to smash it. Dude, Anthony, they should fire their head of demand gen?
Yeah, so, and you know what? I'm not going to blame the head of demand gen. I'm not going to blame the person. I actually bet they're really capable. They're really smart. They're really good at what they do. I just think way too many companies hire in that role before the company is prepared to have that role. They hire them way too early. They expect way too much out of them. And they're really just not giving them a place to be successful.
Got it. Oh, I love this, man. You hooked me in, and then that makes so much sense. But why is this happening? Why are so many people just pulling that trigger, getting the demand gen in there, and then realizing, oh no, like nothing's working? They probably blame the head of demand gen, but they just didn't do the prep. Why is this happening?
I think there's mainly a misconception on the role, and people who may not have experience in scaling go-to-market organizations. A lot of times founders, even CROs of early stage companies, this is their first or second run at this. And to really see one go from beginning to scale up to exit is really rare. So I think they assume that their demand generation is down. So they want to hire somebody who can go pick it up. But there's two different types of people and two different types of skill sets on the marketing side, I think. One is people who create, and then the people who accelerate. And I think if you're getting a really good leader in demand generation, they're phenomenal at accelerating. But you have to do the creation part first before they have anything to accelerate, before they have anything to pour fuel in the fire, before they can really dial in exactly what's working and giving you the most ROI and really accelerating those potential ways to drive growth. They're not the creators, they're the accelerators. So I think people just have a misconception of the role, when to bring them in, how to bring them in, the profile they should be looking for, and then set them up for failure.
Dude, I'm in, man. I totally see that being the case. The create, then the accelerate. You can't accelerate when you don't have the gas. You don't have the car. Put your foot down and you don't go anywhere because there's no car under you, right? Like, I totally get this. So, man, where do I go from here? Like, what do I need to do so that I know I can bring this person in and they're going to be successful?
Yeah, I think for any company, any startup, scale up, I think you're going to be looking for 5 things that you want to have in terms of infrastructure, that you want to have in terms of your own company foundation before you go bring in this role.
Got it. And this is going to save us tons of money, right? Because how many times do we pull this? Because these people are not cheap either, right? So we're just going to be spending that hard-earned marketing budget on this role, and they're not ready to fly. So yeah, dude, you're so right. And I mentioned that in the beginning. I'm glad I did. But the fact that you've covered across beginning, scale up, exit, you've seen the entire growth, curve, the cycles, all of these things. So I'm excited. So we got 5 things to prepare.
Yeah, and I'll kick it off with the first one, and this isn't even about marketing. So if I'm thinking mostly this is for a sales-led or hybrid sales assist motion type of company. So the first thing I would look at is, do you have a clear and proven sales motion? Because the worst thing you can do is pour fuel on the fire for demand generation, and then it's just going into a leaky bucket of a broken sales process. So the first place I would look is, do you even have the sales infrastructure, the sales team, the repeatable sales motions to facilitate and close an increase in demand?
Yeah, let's break that down, right? So I heard infrastructure, team, and motion. So infrastructure, we're talking like your CRM is ready and capable of handling multiple reps, multiple leads, and things happening. Be able to receive that. Is that what we're talking about?
I think that's part of it, but I would even just more first principles. Do you have the people, and do you have the right sales method and motion to close the type of deals that you're trying to generate on the demand side? So are they trained? Do you have the right profiles? Do you have a proven sales process? Do you know the motions you need to go through in order to take a deal from sales qualified lead to close? If you don't, then you may be wasting so much money, energy, time on really good leads that your demand generation engine could be drumming up, and then they're just going to go over and not get closed.
You mentioned this a couple times, the idea of that proven sales process. Talk us through that is. Maybe we spend a lot of time in the marketing world and not the sales world. What do you need to see? Let's say your CMO, you're looking over at the sales team. What do you need to see from them in that proven process?
First, do they have a process? You'd be surprised. So
Like a written out, here's how we sell here.
is it sitting? It doesn't have to be fancy, but are there bullets in a Google Doc of how you expect to sell once you get a lead? I don't think you have to be fully adopting a particular methodology. You don't have to go like, oh, we're all challenger sales. Oh, we're all Sandler sales. But you do have to have, hey, when a lead comes in, this is the story we tell them. These are the pain points we're targeting. This is how we qualify to know if this is a good deal for us or not. And then these are the levers that we have to close, drive urgency, and then make sure that we bring the deal to close one.
Love that. Love that. And, collaborating with sales, like these are must haves. I guess I'm drawing the conclusion that in this, we're prepping them for selling at scale. Like if we're going to open the floodgates, professional demand gen, opening those floodgates fully empowered with these 5 things, this sales team, they can't be figuring it out. They're not like figuring out product market fit, or they're not really clear on what the pain is or what story they tell. And it's just this like Wild West. It's not a good environment to add 1,000 more leads on top of.
That's absolutely right.
Okay. All right. I'm on track, man. You got to have that. Sales has to be squared away. Any tips you would recommend for the CMO listening to this, and they're not the CRO, and so they've got a sales counterpart? How would you maneuver the org to get this going?
Well, I think there's classic sales marketing alignment type of conversations that need to be had. I think usually setting clear expectations of goals and roles and responsibilities. So if the CMO is saying, hey, it's going to be my responsibility to create what I think works best, is to create sales qualified leads, which my definition of that would be a lead is created, a salesperson opens up an opportunity and says that it's a good lead. So whatever that definition looks like, they're going to be on the hook for generating X amount of those. And then sales is on the hook to close and convert.
Right.
So I think just aligning with sales leadership of who's responsible for what do you expect? And then making sure, hey, if I begin to increase demand, what is your plan to convert?
Yeah. Okay. I love that. Great question. What is your plan to convert? And you know what? If all else fails, just pull a Daryl Prail and become the CRO and own everything.
If you're feeling ambitious, go for it.
And there's an episode. So if you Google hardcore marketing, or we'll link to it, you can hear how he did that. Okay, cool. 1 done. We got to get that sales thing ready to go. What's number 2?
So number 2, a strong product positioning and very clear messaging. This is what I think is on the creation and creative side. So is your messaging resonating in the market? Is it strong enough to bring into some demand generation activities and principles? And is it ready to throw some fuel on it? And you may not want to. So what we recommend, if you're a new company, you're a small organization, maybe 1-2 years, you should really be small batch testing messaging. And I would really refrain from going out too much to the market with your messaging until you feel like it's dialed in, because you really only get one shot at a first impression. And if you know, hey, in general, this is our ICP, and you launch something that just doesn't hit the nail on the head, then you wasted that first impression with so many people. So you really don't want to do that until you've small batch tested it. You know the messaging is hitting. You know it's resonating well with your ICP and personas. Then you can throw fuel on that fire.
So what does that look like? Like, do you have an example of what does it look like to have a strong product positioning? Either with some of the companies you've done or worked with, or like what does that sound like?
Yeah, one, I think it's you clearly understand the pain on the other side. So, and I know that sounds obvious. A lot of this stuff is, it's like, diet and exercise is obvious, but it's hard to actually do it. So do you clearly understand it? And have you dialed in and focused on those particular pains? You're not trying to, solve all the world's problems. You're saying, hey, we really solved this particular, very specific thing that we are uniquely positioned to solve for more so than anybody else.
Got it.
So I think that's, if you feel like your messaging is resonating that way, then I think you have it dialed in. If it feels like, hey, we're throwing spaghetti on the wall, we're trying to solve tons of problems for customers, it's, hey, this works for everybody, we're the solution for everybody out there, then it might mean that your messaging isn't focused or dialed in enough.
Got it. Man, a lot of this centers around pain, right? And just understanding where they're coming from and not inserting your own bias and thinking What's your favorite method of pain discovery?
Calls, talking to people. I think you just got to get a lot of reps of, not sales reps, repetitions of talking to people, hearing their pain points, testing out, getting your solution out there, whether it's a service or a product, and then really seeing what works, and then doing retros. Hey, if people didn't move forward with you, or you have big champions, like why? Why are customers churning? Why are some customers wanting to do testimonials and case studies and sing your praises? And really deeply analyze that and see what's really pulling on the people that you're working with's heartstrings, and how can we start to double down on that? So I think that's the main thing. And I think it just takes time. It takes time, it takes repetitions, and it takes capturing the data and organizing it. And it may take time to accumulate that data as well. So it's an iterative process as well, because the market will change, your competitors will change, your things are changing all the time. So you have to really have that fine tuned and dialed in.
Okay. Sick. All right. So product has to be squared away. Do you have what's the product org look like? Do you have like a VP of product at this point? We're talking product marketing. Any particular roles like you must have at this point, or that's even flexible based on just at least accomplish this goal?
I think it could be flexible. I think you probably, I'm speaking mostly for SaaS or AI as a service companies. Those companies should have a head of product. And I think in early days, they can maybe own the product marketing portion. And then I think between them and sales, because sales is going to be in front of customers and prospects, and they're in the market, they're listening to conversations, probably more so than anybody else has an opportunity to. And then if you have a customer success org, or if you have a team that's managing the customers, I'd loop them in as well. And I'm not saying marketing's off the hook, like marketing needs to get out there as well, but the people in front of people in the early days are going to be on sales, CS, and product.
What comes after the product positioning?
So the next one, this is big. And I think this is a trend that is only going to continue to accelerate. And everything that you do and you're focused on is really on trend for this as well. You have to have a really strong, functional content creation engine. So marketing is moving so much towards content creation. How well can you create content? How well can you distribute that content? Do you have that ability to tell your story in a way that people want to engage and interact with? That is going to be so much fuel that your head of demand gen is going to need to use. But again, they may not be the one actually creating it. They're going to be the ones likely optimizing distribution, optimizing what's working, what's not working, and feeding that data back to whoever is responsible for content creation. But it's only going to get more difficult in the content creation space. They have easier access to content creation tools. There's lots of agencies popping up around that are helping people create content. And it's what's working most effectively for a lot of the fastest growing companies.
Got it. I call me biased, but I feel like a podcast is a pretty cool content engine.
It sure is. Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah.
No, and you have to have everything dialed in. So
Yeah.
Podcasts, research that's relevant in your space, creating thought leadership, creating short form, long form, written content. You really have to have a full engine and understand, okay, what big topics can we go tackle? How do we break these down into different mediums? And then have different content assets that we can put into our distribution plan that a head of demand gen can then use as a really strong tool.
Got it. Yeah. Otherwise, they've got no ammo when you bring them in, right? Like, have you seen that where you have a demand gen person involved? What does it look like when you don't have this stage?
Well, it's almost like, I think of it as if you're a salesperson and you just have a shitty product. Like, nobody wants to be a sales rep for a product that's broken. And I think if you're a VP of demand gen and you have shitty content, shitty messaging, things that just don't resonate with the market, and what do you have to go optimize, and what do you have to really streamline distribution for and help drive that demand and bring it back to the company?
Right. Nothing. You're empty-handed. Yeah, I can see how that totally. It's funny. I remember being a marketer and I had like 3 pieces of content to work with. It's like, it's not much, guys. But man,
How did that work? How did it go?
well, thankfully it was old content too. It was enough to at least start conversation, and that was helpful. And they were kind of like key pillars. One was, like how this method works. One was an example of this working for a customer, and one was like, you can try it yourself and see it working. And so we kind of leveraged that but it was it was not customized to the prospect, or it was not, nearly as what it could be. But I think there's also something to be said for not having, 3,000 pieces of content, but like having 30 that are really good,
Yeah, shoot for quality. Whatever's going to be the highest quality, actually resonate with the people you're trying to reach out to. That's important. Which also, which also leads me to number 4. You have to understand inside and out in a very laser focused and segmented way your ICP and personas.
Okay.
So there's so many times we're working with companies where they think they know their ICP. They think they know their personas. And it might be something like this. Oh, we work with financial institutions and we work with the head of risk. That's our ICP. That's our persona. And it's like, that is the laziest, most generic idea of an ICP and a persona that you could have. And if you're not really, really laser focused into, hey, we work with financial institutions that are this size, likely have had these things recently occur, probably using this type of tech stack, probably interested in investing in these areas. And then we're working with heads of risk who eat this for breakfast on Tuesdays. That's how you want your ICP and personas to look, because then you know what type of content to create that's going to resonate with that person. You know how to position your messaging better, and it's going to help with your sales motion. And then it's going to really help that head of demand gen know who the targets are when they're really, really looking for, who's going to be with a high propensity to buy the solution yourself.
Man, okay. I mean, I remember the old school HubSpot personas. Just kind of they were cute, but they never really got to the heart of the matter. We didn't get to the pain. We didn't get to some of these specifics. And I've definitely been guilty of having lazy personas. But man, just like when you have the pain really identified, what kind of clarity can you get when those personas in the ICP is just like locked down?
You just know how to communicate. You know the words to use, you know the tone to use, you know where they're consuming content. Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Reddit? Are they on Instagram? Are they on TikTok? Like, where do you find the people that you're trying to get in front of?
Right. So essentially answer all the most important questions you ever had in marketing just by at least knowing where they're at, how you talk to them, what they need to hear, how you saw, like you basically, those are all the challenges most people have. And it sounds like they just need to focus on the ICP and then you can discover your answers. Like, it's that prep work, man. Sometimes we just get lazy, right? To your point, lazy personas, but a little bit of prep work goes a long way.
It's either lazy or we think we've built something that's so amazing that, everybody should just be flocking to come buy it. And I think yes, in our own heads, of course, I'm a founder, so I'm passionate about what we built. But I know there's a lot of people who wouldn't care about what we do. There's a handful of people who have really, really felt the pain that I have felt, who would know why it's so important to work with a company like ours. But it's not everybody. So you just have to really, and I think, at a human level, I think it just comes down to empathy. Can you put yourself in their shoes, and are you really solving a problem that's relevant to them? And are you taking the time to listen to them and listen to the actual challenges that they have and what's important to them?
Yeah. Usually not. Usually we're listening to hear what we want to hear.
Yeah. Or we're just very proud of what we built and excited to tell them about it.
Yeah. Look at me. Look at my app. My app's the best. Yeah.
Exactly.
You're fired. Get out of here. Yeah. Okay, man. I feel like, man, if you get your ICP squared away, do you even need a number 5 on this list? Tell me, what's 5?
This one, maybe it's 4.5. But I think the last one is just having a really well-structured tech stack and data infrastructure. And this is specifically if you have a head of demand gen in your company, you have to be able to track the data really well, and then make sure the data is flowing back and forth between sales, marketing, product, because that's what they're going to use to really, really dial in. Hey guys, this really worked over here. We need more of this content. Guys, go create this. Hey, we need to do an event like this because this one really converted later in the sales cycle. So there's so much data, and I think sometimes it's overwhelming, but there's just gold waiting in that data. So you need the right tech stack. And it doesn't have to be crazy, but you have to have a CRM that works. You have to have a marketing automation platform that works. You have to all agree on what the stages mean when a lead is moving through the funnel, when an opportunity or deal is moving through the funnel. And then tracking all of the data that you need. How did it come in? What campaigns influence the movement? And then why did something win or lose?
Man. Huge. I feel like this is a masterclass on preparing for success in the demand gen side. Like 100%. Man, where do you learn from? Where do you get your learning?
Yeah, well, a lot of different ways. I think one, we have our own podcast. So I have an opportunity. It's Lean Scale Podcast. You can find it on YouTube. That's where we distribute most of our content. So it's just YouTube at Lean Scale. And I think that's the best. We get a chance to talk to go-to-market leaders. We get a chance to talk to people who are in startups, talk to founders, people creating solutions for go-to-market ops, marketing, sales, CS. So that tends to be where I learn the most, just through the podcast, interviewing people, hearing people's stories.
Man, amazing.
Yeah, it's a perfect way to learn. Just, talk to people who have done the job before.
And I mean, you mentioned it's #1 most successful RevOps channel on YouTube, and you've got just about 300,000 subscribers.
We're almost there. We're almost there.
What robot army did you hire to make and I see a little YouTube bling behind you.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
What was the key to your success on YouTube?
A lot of what we talked about here, figuring out like the personas, who we wanted to build content for, being consistent. And we also work with other people who have massive audiences. So it took a while. We've been doing this for a few years. So it wasn't an overnight thing. And you really have to be invested in it. I mean, we probably were doing, a couple recordings a week at least and being really consistent. And then once we had a decent amount of success, then we had something where we could go to big companies that sell sales, marketing, technology, and then bring them on the channel. And then they have massive audiences. So a little bit of that is like collaborating and in a way kind of hijacking their audience and then bringing them to ours.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's so good. It's okay. So you've got your podcast, so you're learning from other people this way.
Yep.
Do you ever read beyond that, or do you mostly just get your learning from other people like that?
Oh no, I'm a big fan of some classic business books. I think like Good to Great is my favorite. I've read that book probably 8 times cover to cover. And every time I read that book, there's like new wisdom that I'm pulling out of it.
Do you ever find it hard because books like that can be great because they're just so dense and full of wisdom, but then I'll get like 2 paragraphs into a chapter. I'm like, oh man, I can't continue. I have to like take action on these things right here, and there's the to-dos all pile up on themselves.
Yeah, totally. I mean, every time I'm like, at Lean Scale, maybe we're creating new services. And then I go back and I reread the headshot concept. It's like, hey, what's core to what you do and offer? Whenever we're hiring or figuring out what roles and responsibilities we should have internally, it's always like, get the right people on the bus first, then get them in the right seats. If they're not the right person, you don't have a seat for them, like put them on a different bus. So yeah, but I think a lot of the problems that we run into have been solved over like hundreds and thousands of years. It's mostly just like people communicating with each other, building organizations. So I don't think a lot of this is new. It's probably just new to us because it's our first time experiencing a lot of this stuff. So I think there's a lot of wisdom in those books. Another book that I really like is McKinsey Edge. And to me, it's just like how to be an absolute professional. So that's another one. And then what I'm reading now, I just started reading this and I'm thinking about making an offsite topic for our team, but Unreasonable Hospitality. I know this is a big one. I'm surprised I haven't read it yet, but I just think like the subtitle of this, The Remarkable Power of Giving People More Than They Expect. Classic under promise, over deliver type of thing, but finding ways to just do that with your product, with your service, with how you interact with people every day. Just do more than what they were thinking you were going to do, and in the long run, you're going to win.
Now, how do you balance that out with like scope creep?
Well, I think, yeah, you have to be careful, especially for us. We're like a services company, so there's unlimited work to do. I think it's just making sure you agree on something 110% you can deliver on. So this is the agreement that you make. This is the promise I'm making to you. And then always leave room to go above and beyond. So if you make promises that are too big, then you're not going to leave yourself any room to go above and beyond. I used to work in a restaurant when I was in college and high school. And if you think about, like, if somebody gets their order wrong, you want to be able to just be like, no problem, let me fix it. Let me swap it out with something else. Can I throw in something for you to help like give you that? And you have to make sure you have enough margin in what you're selling your food for, so you can deliver that type of service when those times come.
Right. Okay. Sick. Dude, next question is like, who are you? Who are you? How do you know all these things? Like, take me back in time, little you days, right? Did little you know, like little Anthony, do you know he's gonna be like running companies, YouTube channels, teaching the world about go to market? Like, what was it like? Take me back in time to little you.
Yeah, came out with my laptop, ready to go. No,
Yeah.
I, I think most people, like, I found myself in the tech world, and usually it's not super linear. You're not like, oh, I can't wait to get into B2B SaaS and do go-to-market operations. Like, nobody has that dream as a kid.
Right.
But little me, I mean, I was born and raised in Phoenix, so out in the desert. Still live here today. I have tons of family out here. I'm the oldest of 5, which is, I feel like that taught me a lot. Like, if you're talking like management and running an organization, like, the family was just huge, and there's so many dynamics moving around. So
Yeah.
I think that played a big role.
Yeah, you definitely have older sibling energy, recognize. Definitely, it's that leadership you get when you're the oldest sibling. And you know what? You're the one that has to figure stuff out for the first time, and no one's already at that high school, and no one even knows what that grade looks like. And you gotta plow forward and be the brave one. Everyone else can kind of follow in your footsteps.
Right, exactly. We were just born this way, destined to be leaders. No, and I think you have to also pass it down to your siblings. So you're like, hey, when you get to high school, this is what it's going to be like. Um, I had all sisters too, so I feel like, in general, I think, like, this might be a hot take, but I think women are just in general smarter than men. So I was surrounded by a lot of really smart women in my life, and their EQ is usually like 100 points higher than the average dude. So
Yeah. I mean, it's well said. Like, yeah, definitely, I've seen girls mature faster. I mean, I'm still working on that mature side of things, so it's not like I can compete in any competition whatsoever. As I like try to get being above, being like mentally age 17. So yeah, totally hear you.
but yeah, I think that was a lot of like childhood. I think I always had a affinity towards business. Did things like little lawn businesses when I was a
Yeah,
kid. High school, I had like resold T-shirts and stuff like that. I think I just always liked the idea of like, oh, you can build something that can scale. That's pretty cool.
that
Uh,
is cool. That's really cool. But yeah, you went to school for biochem.
I know. I think so. I was applying to colleges a little after like the '08 financial crisis.
Oh yeah.
So I thought I always liked science. Like, I'm a big science nerd too,
Same.
but mainly at like the Discovery Channel level. And I found that out when I got to college. So I thought, hey, I really like science. I also, thinking I wanted to be a doctor at the time. So I did biochem, it's a good pre-med degree, and then I just muscled through it, and it was really hard. And I didn't enjoy it too much. I liked it a little bit, but at the end of it, I was like, no, this isn't for me, and I don't want to keep going with it. So right after college, I got into a medical device company, started doing like sales and marketing for that company, and really felt like, okay, this is the type of work that I actually really enjoy. Bounced around couple different companies, even worked at like a hospital in strategy. And then I found my first startup and I fell in love. And the company was called Emailage. And I came in to do customer success. And then eventually that turned into my first ops role. And I just felt at home. Like I cannot tell you the just incredible sense of this is exactly where I'm supposed to be that I felt during that time.
Yeah.
And then I never looked back since.
Wow, man. That's crazy. What was it about that experience at that company that really kind of shaped you?
So many aspects. I think one, you dream big. I have to be like working towards something that feels bigger than myself. I have to feel like, hey, there's a real opportunity to make some major impact. You work with really smart and creative people. And I'm not saying those people don't exist at big companies, but you can actually like put your creativity and your experience to work and get the impact in real time.
Nice.
And it just feels like there's a level of adrenaline to that, like building new things.
Yeah.
And we focused on what matters. Like as companies get bigger, a lot of your value to the company, in my experience, tends to be how do you navigate the organization and how do you get things done in that big organization. And I've worked in the Fortune 1000, so people valued me for being able to get things done in the system of the company that I worked in, rather than creating new things, building things that drive impact. So yeah, I think just feeling your impact every day in a smaller company was a lot of fun.
I love that, man. Yeah, I love the nimble. Sometimes it gets big, it can get political. Gets big, it can get like punching jello. I just want things to move. I want to break things and fix things. So, yeah, man. But what about Lean Scale now? Like, who are the kind of companies you work best with? Who's your ICP? Who's your ICP? Who are your personas? If those people are listening, they should definitely reach out. So who should we be listening for?
I know, and I got to eat my own dog food too. So
Yes, sir. This is the test.
exactly. No, so we have. I think our ICP's pretty dialed in. We work with B2B, SaaS or AI as a service companies. We work mainly Series A, B, and C. They have to be growing quickly. So anything more than 50% year over year growth. Most of our companies are shooting to double or triple their growth year over year. And in North America. So I think those are kind of the firmographic ICPs. Now, the persona aspect of it, we work with people who've done this before. So we work with pros. And I don't know, like, it's like Home Depot is like where the doers go, some sort of tagline like that. We work with people who just have felt this pain and they don't want to put up with it anymore. So Lean Scale, we do go-to-market operations. We manage all of the systems, the reporting. We bring all of the best practice processes that work. And then we also work on planning. So, hey, you want to double your growth? Here's likely where your investments need to go in order to get there. And then let's go track everything to make sure you're hitting your plan and building the company that you expect to be building.
God, man, I don't know, what do you all think? Did he pass? I think he passed. I think you passed the test on that, man. Next question for you is a bit of a hypothetical. Are you ready for this? Ready for this hypothetical question?
Sure.
I may or may not have a time machine here in New Hampshire. So you come visit, a little event up in Boston, drive up north, we get some lobster, get some beer, and you get to use I have a time machine. It's in the backyard, covered in a tarp. So you use the time machines, but it's a particular kind of time machine. You get a chance to go back and meet yourself a couple days after getting that biochem degree, right? You get to meet and chat with that Anthony. What do you say? What kind of advice do you give yourself?
Oh man, yeah, let's hop in the DeLorean and let's go.
Let's do it.
I actually feel like I feel very grateful for the sequence of events that happened in my career and got me to where I am. So I think what I would tell younger Anthony who just graduated, got out of school, just don't worry. Just focus on wherever you are, Doesn't matter what you're doing. Do the absolute best. Overperform. Under promise, over deliver. Really care about the work you're doing, and then continue to foster relationships with all of those people that you're surrounded by, because you have no idea what opportunities will open up and where those people will go and what those people will do. And that's exactly what happened. I got into that startup emailage from 2 previous companies prior that I was working at. Somebody from that company, I worked with them really, really well, ended up being the CRO of this company. And that's how I got brought in. So I would just say, do your best every day and keep doing it. And don't worry about where the trail is going, and just enjoy the adventure.
Man, enjoy that adventure. Dude, how can people connect with you? Where do you want them to go? What do you want them to click on? Email, click, clack, whatever. What do we need to do?
Yeah, you can, all kinds of places. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, so you can just search for Anthony Enrico, Lean Scale. Sure, I'll pop up. Check out our YouTube channel. I think you're going to get to know me. You're going to get to know our team. You're going to get to know a lot about startups, scale-ups, and go-to-market operations. If you want to email me, it's anthony@leanscale.team. And yeah, I'd love to connect with anyone that has listened to the podcast or is interested in the type of work we do, or just wants to chat it up.
Dude, so good, man. Thank you so much for coming on here. Talk about gratitude. I've got gratitude for you being on here. And I said this before, this was a master class. This was a master class in the preparation that's necessary for success, for scaling. But also to learn about you and your background, and, oldest of a bunch of sisters, man. Bet you were the cool older brother, that is for sure. So I think they definitely benefit from that. But thank you so much for coming on here. It's been just awesome to have you on.
Thanks for having me, and happy to come back again in the future.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. And those listening, if you learned something, I freaking know you did, because I literally have 2 pages of notes over here. And look, you look on the back, I start running out of space. I'm like, what am I going to do? But I found a way to get it all in there. But man, if you learned something, share this with 1 person, 3 people. 9,000 would be cool. But even just 1 person that's thought leadership, just good information, someone else's hands. Do you know an org, or is your org looking to potentially make that demand gen higher? Pause. Take the action on this thing. Hit up Anthony, get some help from Lean Scale. Man, this is just good stuff. Thank you again, Anthony, for being on here.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. This has been a crazy cool, exciting episode of the Hardcore Marketing Show. We will see you all next time.